Welcome to Beyond the Corporate Ladder, thoughtful conversations on leadership, growth, and long-term perspective with your host, Stephen Lee Thomas. Each episode features thoughtful conversations with leaders and operators about growth, decision-making, and what it really looks like to build a meaningful life as your career evolves. All right, everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Corporate Ladder. Today, my guest is Justin Spillers. Now, Justin is a former attorney turned multifamily operator, and he's built a pretty large organization, and he's got some very valuable lessons for us today. Justin, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Appreciate it, Stephen. Happy to be here.
Justin, can you give us a little bit more about your background?
Yeah, so from small town Ohio, went to Ohio State for undergrad in law school, practiced real estate and business law for about 7 years and got into my own businesses. Always had that entrepreneurial bent. I wanted to start my own companies. My father-in-law had some really good wisdom when I was in undergrad, said go to law school. That's going to be the best springboard for you to be able to start your own business. He has a pretty successful business and said the law side of things is the one thing you can't learn on the streets. So go there first. You'll get around a lot of good business owners and it'll open up a lot of doors.
Nice, man. So you started as an attorney, right? How long were you doing that for?
Yeah, so about 7 years, mostly business, mostly real estate. Saw a little bit of everything. Helped small companies start their formation of their businesses, filing LLC paperwork, etc., all the way up to working on Fortune 50 company, M&A deals, security registrations, etc. So kind of saw the full gamut in those 7 years.
Okay. And then now you're a full-time multifamily operator.
Yes. So me and my business partner Brandon, we have a company called Real Estate Alpha, multifamily value add investors in Ohio. We have about 700 apartments all up and down the west side of Ohio and do everything in-house.
Okay. So when you take a look at where you're at in your career, I think you probably started thinking, you said your father helped with foundational, like entrepreneurial spirit. Um, did you think you were going to end up being a multifamily operator?
No, real estate was never on my radar. I didn't know what type of business I wanted to get into. Again, same person. My father-in-law said, do something that's recurring, right? People are going to keep buying no matter what, in good times and in bad. So I really looked into like eggs, bread, the food commodity manufacturing markets at first. I dabbled in that for a little bit, and then kind of stumbled into some real estate books, Rich Dad Poor Dad, all the essentials everybody reads, and saw the real estate opportunity as very unique in that the tenants or the residents pay every month. They always need a place to live in good times and bad. Has kind of checked that box of being, I'll say, recession proof a little bit. And then you get that recurring customer that always needs to pay rent and needs a place to live. So kind of check the boxes from a different angle. And then I started passively investing in 2016, and the more and more I did it, the more I liked it, and the more it grew, and that kind of became the opportunity that swallowed the rest.
So if you were to look at the theme across that, what do you think the single biggest thing is that's contributed to where you're at today?
The single biggest thing, solely action, taking action. I've always been an action taker. I started my first company in an undergrad, created a green screen photo booth system, literally took a green screen, put it in an enclosed photo booth, created the technology to do it. We were the first ones to do it, and had a bunch of college kids running around doing events for me. And like that was always like, let's figure it out, let's make some money, let's get it going. Stored everything in a storage unit in a very bad part of Columbus, Ohio, and I mean, that's kind of where it started, my passion for starting businesses and taking action. But you have to try it, right? Like that was the first stepping stone. I learned a ton from that, took it into the next business venture, the next one. So my real estate company is probably like my eighth or ninth business, if you will, depending how
Okay.
you chop it up. So all those action steps just amounted to learning more and more and more and more. But if you just read books all day, you consume podcasts, you watch videos, and you don't take any action, you're never going to get anywhere. You got to have those setbacks.
So then I gotta hear your thoughts on imperfect action, taking imperfect action. Because I think that you mentioned it, right? You can read books, you can watch podcasts. It's like I love this analogy of I heard it the other day where just because you have a goal doesn't mean it's going to happen. And they use the analogy of the people going and competing in the Olympics. And everybody that's going to the Olympics has a goal of what? Getting a gold medal. But just because you have the goal doesn't mean you have the outcome. So you have to take action. But one of the things at least I think is imperfect action. You be okay with making mistakes. Like, what are your thoughts on that? What is your mindset there?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. It fits perfect. That first company, we had the idea we could do it, and we sold it to our friend who was getting married, and she was expecting this green screen photo booth at her wedding, and we still didn't know how to do it without the shadowing. And we were literally up all night the night before her wedding figuring it out, and we finally got it to work and literally brought it to her. But we sold it to her. I think we charged her like $1,200, and we had no idea how we were going to do it yet. And so
Wow.
that like that type of just grittiness is what really has let me be pretty successful. So I try to sell it before I even have it figured out. I try to prove the concept. I don't care about the typography and the business name and the website, all this. I just go out, sell, see if there's a market, see if there's interest, and then I figure the rest of it out. And that's helped out a lot. So being willing to take action before everything's kind of the stars are aligned, if you will,
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
you'll learn so much more by failing those first 5 times and by waiting till you have perfect events because you may not even know what the perfect event could be or the perfect setup could be. So it'll change 5 times before then. So being able to iterate, pivot, change quickly is everything. And it all just goes back to taking action.
Yeah, I love that. So, you've learned a lot along the way. Um, how do you think differently when it comes to decision making now than early on in your career?
Yeah. So the big thing is knowing you need to be the collective total knowledge of everyone you're with, whether that's a team member, a business partner, mentors. You shouldn't be making decisions by yourself. In the early days, you have to, which is what I did. But now, when I make big decisions, especially, I have the power of 50 team members. My business partner, we've been together for 10 years now. I have some really good mentors I reach out to. And I'm looking for that collective brain power to make decisions now. I didn't have that before. I had books and podcasts and videos, which was great, but they weren't talking back to me. I just heard a one-way street of education where now it's a two-way street. So we're very, very good at getting a problem or an issue, an opportunity out there and just beating it as hard as we can and then making the best decision and moving on. So a lot of heated debates, but we're all smart enough to know we don't know everything. So I want to try to get people in the room who are smarter than me at something and contribute to that collective brain power. And that's very different than where I was starting out, especially when I was a lawyer. Um, that's not really the mentality. You try to find the solution, you try to be the person giving the answer in a singular format, where now it's the collective format inside the business.
So you mentioned something there of not being the smartest person in the room. And I like that a lot. And so early on, you said you were the person, and maybe you got a couple of people, but did you feel like you had to be smarter than everybody else? Did you feel like you had to have all the answers? And then eventually that mindset shifted and you realized there's other people that have maybe better answers?
Yeah, so I do think it's extremely important that you have a base level knowledge of all things in your business. You
Hmm.
have to be able to contribute at some level. So that was very important to me to get that foundational knowledge. And I just had no resources, right? I had no money. So I had to learn it on my own. I couldn't pay someone to do it. And the people I were paying were college kids that I was trying to pay $12 an hour to get them out of bed, right? They weren't adding to my business strategy. So certainly you need to learn it on your own. There's a lot of good value there. I am a very big believer that you should know a lot about your business and be able to be one of the smartest people in key areas
Hmm.
and know
Hmm.
like what your area of genius is, but also know other areas. Like I'm pretty dangerous with our books on the financial side, but I'm not as smart as our CPA, right? I'm not as smart as my chief financial guy. I want to be reliant upon them. Same with even like with insurance, for example, is a great niche. I know a lot about our insurance, but I know nothing compared to my insurance broker. I'm completely reliant upon him to do a really good job. So I make sure I find people who I trust and believe in, have my best interest, and can do a very good job.
With that, um, We were talking before the show. How large is your organization right now?
Yeah, so we have a team of about 50. We have about 35 W-2 employees and about 15 1099 full-times. About It's probably a pretty even mix, about 35 locally in Ohio and about 15 offshore team members that work full-time for us.
Okay. All right. And then also in some of the show notes, you were talking about, one of the things that you've developed as a leader is getting out of the way, or I don't know, maybe it was like getting out of your own way, but getting out of the way. So I hear everything you're saying is you need to be you can't just hand stuff over completely blind and be like, well, I hope it works, right? But there's also, I think, a subtle art to getting out of the way. Can you explain more about that?
Yeah, it's a great concept that you learn slowly. You can't micromanage everything. Eventually, you have to let the person you hire do their job, right? And get out of their way. Let them do it well. Let them figure out the solution for themselves. I used to tell everyone, don't come to me unless you Google it first, right? I don't want the lazy way out to just ask me. Now I tell them all to grok it, right? You got to talk to AI first, get the best solution possible, and then come to me because that solution is probably going to be better than me now. It's getting so good. But I want them
Bring
to
me
think
solutions, not problems.
exactly. I want them to think for themselves. I want them to implement it. I want them to know that I'm giving them the autonomy and freedom. I used to joke, I give you enough rope to hang yourself when you're put in a place with us. And they appreciate that too, right? I think people view it, they have more skin in the game. They try to think like a business owner. They put the best interest of the company first. So I try to beholden them as best I can and not hamstring them by thinking they have to run everything by me and then I'm going to micromanage it. So that was the big thing is I have to let my team members do what they're good at and trust that they're going to do it well, which is not an easy thing to do when it's your organization, your company, and you're used to knowing everything that's happening on a day-to-day level. I just don't have that time now, right? I have
Hmm.
50 people times 8 hours. Like there's 400 hours of work being done every day. I can't possibly know what all that is. I have to trust in the system and the team.
So with that, 400 hours of work being done every day, and you have a large organization now, you're a busy guy. You're also a family guy.
Yes.
What does balance look like for you in life right now?
Yeah, so I figured out that inadvertently got the best cheat code in life by marrying my wife. So I married her. I found her at a young age. We dated in high school, dated all through college, eventually got married. So we've been together for a really long time. So basically more than half of our life at this point. We're both 39 years old. But you look for a partner, smart, funny, good looking, etc. The one thing I didn't realize is her parents had a very successful business and her dad worked really hard and afforded them a really nice lifestyle. And she grew up in that first generation entrepreneur environment. So she knew what it takes to
Hmm.
be successful. So she allows me to work as much as needed and go in those spurts because she wants to continue to have a good lifestyle. She knows what it takes to be successful and she saw it firsthand. And I never realized that until much later. Now that's like one of the best things is she takes care of our entire life. We have four beautiful children. She stays at home. She watches them. It's a much harder job than I have. She does an
Hmm.
amazing job, and she manages that part of my entire life very well. And she allows me to work as much as needed. So I try to take breaks here and there. I try to make sure I'm there in the morning for breakfast or bring her coffees where needed. And then I'm there for dinner for an hour or two. But when I have to work at night, most nights I do, she's okay with it, right? She just knows that that's what it takes right now. We're kind of in that grinding season.
Hmm.
I try to coach my kids' stuff. I try to be for them when they're there at home for those windows. So I do try to balance it as much as I can, but I also know now's a really good time to set the foundation for us financially, to get the business right, to make sure we have everything in order. But her allowing me to do that and not just allowing me, but wanting me to do that and like cheering me on has been a huge help in life. And I never realized that that was such an important thing. I have a lot of other friends. It's not the case and it's very difficult to do. So I am very lucky there. But yeah, I try to balance as best I can. I kind of know like, when she's getting overwhelmed or maybe my kids need a little bit more attention. I have a pretty good pulse on that now, and I'll do what's needed there to make sure I'm not letting one part of my life slack.
Do you find, um, let me rephrase that. Do you schedule time for family and wife?
Yeah, so pretty much every day, dinner time, 2 hours, whether that's 5 to 7 or 6 to 8, I try to make that be family time with all of us. And my kids are young still, so from 18 months to 9 years old. So they're all there still. They're not
Hmm.
that busy yet. That's important. And then weekends when our kids have sporting events, for sure then. And then one big thing is I pretty much have a date night every week with my wife, and I take care of that. I find the babysitter, I find the restaurant, and we do that, and we rarely do we miss. I wish I was better at not missing, but we hit probably 80 or 90% of the weeks, and she just needs to get out of the house, right? Get away from the kids,
Right,
get that
right,
break,
right.
which I get and I appreciate and I love it because it's just her and I, and we have that one-on-one time. It is a little expensive, the babysitters and stack up, but when my oldest can watch our kids, I'm going to save a lot of money on babysitters. So we're about there. But yeah, that time's critical. We use that to run through everything top to bottom, and we've done that pretty much consistently since we've been married, and that's been a huge hack as well, and just always being in sync.
That's awesome. I love that. Taking the time for family, for wife, especially so my background's corporate America, and that was 40 to 50 hours pretty manageable when you step into the entrepreneurial side, to your point. um, Especially when you're first getting started, it could be evenings, it could be early mornings, it could be I'm getting on a plane, and that can be challenging. But that's one of the hacks we found is get it on the calendar, like really schedule time for you and your wife, or for you and your kids, because I think it's important that one-on-one time. Even the other day, I made sure my son, he's just starting baseball in school in fifth grade, never played before, so I'm like taking some time off. I'm like, hey, let's go to the park and let's like throw the ball. Like I just on the calendar kind of a thing. And I tell my wife I live and die by my calendar. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. So let's just get it on the calendar, right? And the calendar is any time of the day, it doesn't matter. Get it on the calendar. So that's a hack I use as well. You mentioned you're getting ready to turn 40, right? It's a big
Yes.
milestone. So thinking 5, 10 years ahead, what do you feel is like most important right now for you to focus on and create?
Career-wise or personally or any
Bit of
area?
both, man. Yeah, like where are you at? This is the story of balance.
Yeah, so business, everything's kind of humming along and going really well. The real estate side's kind of perfect storms happening, so I'm trying to double down and grow as aggressively as we can. So I'm very much in growth mode still there. I have some pretty ambitious goals on the business front, so I want to keep hiring and training. That evolution has very much been like now I know standard, but where we're at, it's just a people problem now. I need to get the right team members on the bus. So hiring, training, systems is really where I'm at right now, and that part of the grind. We try kind of have the playbook built out, but now I just need to get more team members to keep executing on it. So that's been a huge focus. As far as like fitness and physical side of it, I've really gotten back into a workout routine, which I really like. I'm in my home office right now. I'm working from home a little bit more so than I used to. But I did a thing called Superhuman. This thing you get the million ads on your phone for, but that's been good just to have an accountability partner, a person that makes sure you're tracking your healthy eating habits, where you're doing your workouts, etc., and they hold you accountable. I find having that person that I'm beholden to and I'm paying just
Hmm.
makes it much more realistic that I stick to it. So I'm doing that. That's going really well. And then yeah, on the family side, man, I'm just trying to have fun, trying to educate my kids. I'm in kind of getting in that progression where they're starting to soak it up. So I'm trying to like give them the business, the wisdom. My daughter's had some sloppy handwriting. I'm just trying to tell her like your name is on this piece of paper. You need to be proud of it. Like this
Uh-huh.
is your product. You need to have this. You don't know who's going to see this, right? And same father-in-law, I'm like, you want me to show grandpa this? Would grandpa be accepted? She's like, no, 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 don't do that. So I'm just trying to start to give them the life lessons, the principles, and that's the fun stage. Encourage them to kind of figure things out. But yeah, I mean, trying to reflect back and make sure I'm moving the ball forward everywhere. I try to grade myself on 5 areas: my business, my family life, my religion, my kids, and my friends. And if I know one of those scores are kind of lacking, I try to focus on that. So all five is in a pretty good spot, but I mean, 40 is a unique milestone to try to recalibrate. Um, but I think we've done a pretty good job in our house doing that. And a big part is my wife takes on a heavy part of the family and the rebalancing there. And she's good at letting me know too, like where I'm slacking if I don't see it myself. So just
My
having those.
wife's good at that too. And I'm joking, tongue in cheek, but really, I told her the other day, she actually helps me find balance. Like it's true, right? Like she's trying to think of the right way to phrase it up, but she does. Like there's times that I'm working too much or something, and she'll help me find balance. Or, she pays more attention to the emails from the teachers kind of a thing and pulls me in. And so I love what you said there, about having your wife really kind of help you find that balance. Um, in your career, where things are at, what topics or like what areas are you really focusing in on now that you weren't maybe, 5 years or so ago when you were, getting started in this area?
Yeah, I'd say the big one kind of back to that, the people, the training, the hiring, the systems, but more so on the systems and the education component. I've really gotten back into that mindset of, okay, I need to relearn some newer areas. Our constraints now are very different than what they used to be. Our constraints used to be basically figuring out our business model. Now our constraints are continuing down our business model. So how do we build a system to make sure that we always have a good deal flow, right? How do I think 5 years ahead that I want to be buying 500 units every year? What systems and teams do I need to put in place now to start that flywheel to make sure we hit our goals 5 years from now? And then just going down the ladder, same with our leasing team, our property management team, our maintenance team, our construction team. How do we build that out and what tools and resources do we need? So you see some of those books. I'm a massive Alex Ramosi fan. We've gone to three of his workshops. We work with his executive team now. We've paid a good amount of money to them, but they're extremely smart people. They're ex-McKinsey consultants, etc. And they just get you hyper focused on, okay, what's your constraint here? What does the normal marketplace do, and then how can we do it better using first principle thinking
Hmm.
and just brainstorming like that, to really recognize what the thing that the limiting part of my business is, where before it was just I'm trying to move every ball forward. I'm a juggler, right? I'm drinking from a fire hose, where now it's much more strategic. Okay, what is the one thing which, if we eliminate that constraint, would unlock future growth? Let's do that. Okay, then that next, what's the next one? And we're much more methodical about it now than we used to be. So that's the big focus, is let's just really try to build out the foundational pieces, the systems that are needed to scale, so that when we grow and we double in size, everything doesn't break again, right? We
Hmm.
can
Hmm.
continue to grow without that worry that we didn't put the foundation and the work on the back end in place, to not have that failure happen.
Yeah, I love it. Um, all right. So for someone listening to this who is earlier on in their career, earlier on in the journey, um, what's something you wish you understood sooner about success?
I would say while I pride myself on being an action taker, if I failed or something went wrong or I was wrong, I viewed that way too negatively. Um, Now in hindsight, all of my success is attributed to my failures. The absolute worst moments in my business career are now in hindsight the best things that could have happened. So I truly believe you need to hit rock bottom. You need to have your back against the wall. You need to be completely wrong on an assumption. You need to be naive and think somebody wasn't going to burn you and then they burn you, right? Or swindle you. Like that stuff just has to happen. And it's part of the ignorance debt that you pay down as you grow. And I did not realize I was paying that ignorance tax in the time. And it's stressful. It's hard. I mean, a lot of late nights and thinking I was a failure. I'm not going to come back from this. Knowing now those failures are the most important building stones, foundational stones to build to get to where you want to go. I wish I would have known that back then, and appreciated it, because I've never met a successful person that hasn't hit rock bottom, that hasn't had their back against the wall, that hasn't been sued, that hasn't had something terrible happen, right? Like they joke, like the if you want to make $100 million, you have to go through $100 million of pain, right? Like you just it just has to happen. And it's
Right.
so true. And even on like the lawsuit side, like if you're making money, you have a target on your back. Like the most sued person in the world is Elon Musk because he's the richest person, right? Like it's just part of the process. And you look at it, it's so negatively, but it's part of growing and being successful. And that part I had no appreciation for in the early days, like I do now.
So in my head, I keep hearing this expression I learned one time, which is fail fast, fail forward. Um, embracing the suck. And that's a tough but valuable lesson. Um, and it's kind of you try to like you're probably sharing some of that with your children now, right? Right when they fail, hey, it's part of the learning process. I don't know that they quite get it. For me personally, those are battle scars, and but it has helped me be, I will say, a better father because, and while this is hard, um, I am okay with letting my children do something on their own, knowing they're actually going to fail at it. That is hard. That is like emotionally, like I can feel it right now. It's kind of hard for me. But has that impacted you as being a father as well?
Yeah, that's a great point. I try to at night at bedtime. Sometimes I rush it, sometimes I take more time in it, and the times I take more time, I absolutely love it. So I'm trying to get that might be like a 40-year-old goal is never rush the bedtime. But my oldest in particular, now my second oldest, I'm starting to ask them like, hey, what'd you fail at today? And I
Mhm.
want to just get that dialogue going because I want them to start talking about it and realize the benefits of it. So I literally just started asking my daughter that question, which is
Wow.
funny. You just brought that up. But things like that, I think those dialogues are just I mean, they're so valuable to your children. Even just re-encouraging them, right? Like telling them, "I'm so proud of you. I'm glad you're mine.
Hmm.
Like I would choose you over any other kid. Like I love you." Like that stuff, especially at night, right before they go to bed, is just that reinforcement is big. So I do try to spend time learning about that, just like reading articles or even like videos and stuff on how to be better at that. It's just not intuitive, right? You just don't you're not born one day thinking, what questions do I ask my daughter before she goes
Yeah.
to make
Yeah.
her successful? So I had a great upbringing, but I didn't remember any of that, right? I don't know if I just have a bad memory or what. Like I love my childhood, but I don't remember what those nighttime discussions were. So I want to make sure I'm bringing them and making them meaningful and try to leave an imprint on my kids at an early age.
Well, I think it's fair to acknowledge that as a parent we make mistakes. Like we're not perfect, right? And as a parent, I have failed, and had to acknowledge, like, you know what? It doesn't define who I am. Like, it doesn't mean I'm a bad dad. It means it's an opportunity to learn from that and not do it again. And then, one thing I've actually learned to do is, I'll apologize to my own kids, right? Hey, what daddy did, that was a mistake. That was wrong. And that's like helped me a lot. So the business mindset there has actually helped me, um, you know, be a better parent. So because I believe we're kind of all in one. It's kind of, as much as we may try to work life, personal life, you're really the same person. You are the same person. You got to show up both places, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, hey, Justin, I have really, really enjoyed this conversation and hearing your insights. If somebody wants to learn more about you, your organization, or get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, our main website, realestatealpha.io. It's spelled like it would be realestatealpha.io. And then my email is justin@realestatealpha.io. I will say I am super responsive. I absolutely love questions. I have had so many mentors reach their hand down and bring me up and did tons of stuff for me that they didn't need to. And I'm a very big believer of giving that back. So any questions, info, ways I can help, never hesitate to reach out. I'm still a licensed attorney, so I can give you some unfettered legal advice too, woven into any business questions, etc. I throw that out to anybody I reach into. I'm happy to give my 2 cents, but yeah, reach out anytime. Would love to connect, learn more, share, deep dive any more on what I just talked about with Stephen.
Great. Thanks so much. And for those of you listening, we'll catch you in the next episode. Justin, again, thanks so much.
Yeah, likewise, Stephen. Take care.
Thanks for spending time with me today on Beyond the Corporate Ladder. If this conversation resonated with you and you feel like you have a perspective that could add value for others, you can learn more about being a guest at beyondthecorporateladder.com. Thanks so much for listening.